So here's a list of argument styles, including logical fallacies and rhetorical strategies, along with definitions and examples to help you recognize or critique them in debates, writing, or just, everyday discussions. Straw man is when someone misrepresents another person's argument to make it easier to attack. For example, person A says, "We should reduce carbon emissions." And then person B responds, "So you want to shut down all industries and put millions out of work?" Yeah, that's a classic straw man. Ad hominem means attacking the person instead of their argument. Like, why listen to her opinion on climate change? She's not even a scientist. It's, definitely not a solid way to debate. Slippery slope is when someone claims one action will trigger a chain of extreme, often unrealistic consequences. For example, if we legalize marijuana, next people will demand heroin and society will collapse. That's, a pretty big leap, right? So, a false dilemma, or sometimes called an either-or fallacy, is when someone reduces a really complex issue to just two opposing options. For example, you might hear, either we ban all guns or we accept endless school shootings. But honestly, life is rarely that black and white. Now, an appeal to authority is when someone uses an authority figure's opinion as proof, even if it's not really relevant. Like, this skincare product must work, Kim Kardashian uses it. But, just because a celebrity says so doesn't automatically make it true. And finally, a red herring is when someone introduces an irrelevant topic to kind of, divert attention away from the real issue. For instance, why debate taxes? Let's talk about the real problem, illegal immigration. This tactic shifts the conversation and distracts from what's actually being discussed. So, hasty generalization is when someone draws a broad conclusion from, honestly, not enough evidence. For example, someone might say, "I met two rude French people, so all French people are rude." Yeah, that's definitely not a fair assumption. Circular reasoning is when the conclusion is basically used as its own evidence. Like, check this out. The Bible is true because it says it's the word of God. See how that kinda just goes in a circle? Tu quoque, or you too, is all about deflecting criticism by calling out the other side for being hypocritical. For instance, someone might say, "You say I shouldn't litter, but I saw you toss a candy wrapper last week." It's like dodging the point by pointing fingers instead. So the bandwagon fallacy is when you assume something is true just because, well, a lot of people believe it. For example, you might hear, "Everyone's investing in crypto. You'd be stupid not to." Appeal to emotion is all about using feelings like fear, pity, or even anger to try to sway your opinion, instead of using actual logic, like, if you don't support this law, innocent puppies will die. Equivocation happens when someone uses ambiguous language to mislead you. Here's an example. A feather is light. What is light cannot be dark. Therefore, feathers aren't dark. See how the word light changes meaning there? Yeah, that's equivocation. So, the genetic fallacy is when someone judges an idea based on where it comes from, instead of actually looking at its merits. For example, you might hear someone say, "Nietzsche's philosophy is worthless because he went insane." Yeah, that's a classic case of this fallacy. Alright, next up is the loaded question. This is when someone sneaks an assumption into a question, kinda like a trap. For instance, have you stopped cheating on exams? That question just assumes you cheated before, whether you did or not. And then there's the no true Scotsman fallacy, which is all about redefining a group just to exclude any counterexamples. Like if someone says, "No real vegan would ever eat honey," they're basically moving the goalposts to protect their claim. Post hoc ergo propter hoc is when someone assumes causation just because one event happened after another. For example, I wore my lucky socks and won the game. they're the reason we won. Anecdotal fallacy is, basically, using a personal experience as if it proves something for everyone. Like, my grandpa smoked every day and lived to 100, so smoking isn't harmful. Appeal to nature is basically assuming that natural things are inherently better. For example, someone might say, this chemical is toxic, but it's natural, so it's safe. Burden of proof is all about shifting the responsibility to disprove a claim onto someone else, like prove ghosts don't exist. False analogy happens when you compare two things that really aren't meaningfully alike. For instance, employees are like nails. You need to hammer them to get results. So when should you use these styles? In rhetoric, some styles, like appeal to emotion, are persuasive tools in speeches or advertising. In debate, fallacies like straw man or ad hominem actually weaken arguments. But yeah, they're often used to derail opponents. And, well, for critical thinking, recognizing these helps you dismantle weak arguments and totally strengthen your own logic.